Hosea Stevenson. Sorry about that.
Is this on?
Yeah.
My name is Stuart Hersh, and like most in District 2, I own my own home. We are a 52% home ownership district. And according to my council member's office, our median family income is $36,000 less than the city median family income. So, and more than 50% of the renters in our district are cost burdened. I want to talk about density because neither 2.0, 1.0, or code now, as my council member calls current code, gets us the density we need. I live in 78745, which has 58,878 people living in it, compared to some of the adjacent zip codes where there are as few as 7,000 people living in it. So I'm going to look at the code and see what does this do in relationship to others. You are looking at the wrong document. Our code before the 80s was 70 pages long on zoning. It had 5 zoning districts and 5 height and area districts, and this needs to be the base document you're working from. And I've said this before, and it appears to be getting no traction, so I will continue to say it until it does. The local newspaper thinks we need a definition of affordable, and that's only because they can't do a word search for reasonably priced, which has been our definition for affordable since 2000, and it needs to be changed because it doesn't have an asset component, so we get people moving from other parts of the country with $100,000 in the bank accessing our scarce affordable housing. I want to remind you that there's a petition going on in this town, and that Lyndon Johnson wrote in his book, The Vantage Point, that the Fair Housing Act was fixing to fail in 1968 until Dr. King was killed, and then he finally could get it out of the House, and it was approved in April of 1968, which will be exactly 50 years later. We'll be taking up code next. But I will tell you what happened in Austin because you need to know this about the referendum. On October 19th, 1968, voters in Austin voted to repeal what the city council had courageously enacted just a few months earlier, which was Austin's first fair housing ordinance. And the majority of voters who showed up in the October election in 1968 voted to repeal fair housing, and we didn't get it for a couple of decades on the local level. We said the federal law was good enough, we weren't going to use local resources. We have a history of racism. We lead the nation in economic segregation, and what you've been handed as a work product by the staff and by the consultants to date will reinforce that. We could be using UNO, the University Neighborhood Overlay, as a model for getting affordable housing and multifamily all over the city, and we have chosen not to for no good reason that I could figure out. And the Planning Commission resolution that was supposed to make it possible for us to use MF6 entitlements on MF2 lots that are income restricted hasn't come to public hearing yet. So I'm extremely frustrated, as you can tell, and I'm going home to watch baseball because I think that has as much impact on the process as my presence.
No song?
Thank you.
Thank you. No song tonight? No.
I have a new one, but it'll break out in another session.
Okay.
Okay. Hosea